Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Not this room's temperature.
Correct.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. It's, what day is it? Thursday, January 9th? I have it on the rundown. Not reading it already. Thursday, January 9th. This is episode 162. Matt Roy, Chuck McCarthy here for you today. Subscribe to YouTube channel News 4, Fox SA if you are so inclined. Download, rate, review the podcast. Helps us out a lot. Chuck, it's chilly outside. I'm wearing a jacket for one of the first times this winter because it's, 36 and rainy?
Yeah, it's the worst of both worlds,
bad.
right? If it's going to be cold and it's going to be wet, you want it to be sub-freezing, and then you want snow, in my opinion. To be above freezing and to get rain, this is the worst of all worlds.
And then we have Gollum over there on the digital desk, apparently.
I walked over to Starbucks. It's freezing outside, and with that
Says the guy from Ohio. Come on, man.
Hey, Javier, can you throw up the two-shot real quick of what Bob looks like right now? This is what we're looking at, everybody.
Who's the dude from Star Wars?
Oh, is he Luke right now?
I don't know, man.
I want to be Anakin.
Well, no, who's the other guy, the older dude?
Darth Sidious?
No offense.
Darth Sidious?
Palpatine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Darth Sidious.
Yes, that guy.
Anyway, they're already off the rails. I was just saying, I'd rather be cold than hot. You just went on vacation to Vancouver or wherever you went.
Yeah, I went to Quebec.
Quebec, thank you.
Again, it's if you are
Shut up.
if you start your day warm, you will end your day warm. If you dress appropriately, i.e., thermal underwear, and do the best you can with gloves and socks, maybe 2 pairs of socks if you were so inclined. And then Academy has those little heat packets that you kind of break into your hand, and those things will last you all day. It's manageable when it's a little chilly out.
I like being a little bit cold. I would rather, and it's weird because I'm from the desert, so it was 120 degrees when I was a kid. But I'd rather be in 40 degrees than 100 plus degrees.
Well, the thing, everybody does a cold plunge now, right? They do that.
Yeah,
It's actually really good for you. I did it I used to do it when I used to do it for inflammation when I was in college for football. You would go in they would have big tubs where like 10, 12 of you could fit in, and they'd put all of the ice in the world in there, and then they'd fill it up with water, and basically because you didn't have enough whirlpools for everybody individually, so it'd be big ass tubs, and they would put 12 of you in there, and you'd basically just go sit in there in your underwears with your buddies.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun there, Matthew.
Yeah, great to hear you taking baths together.
It's like Caligula. Yeah.
Gets you closer as a team, you know what I mean?
Okay. Never played on a team like that, did you, Bob?
All right. Group hug in the showers tonight.
Okay.
What's that
Moving right along.
You guys ever seen that movie? No? All right. Anyway. We'll just cut this part off.
Yes.
It's
too late.
Anyway, we got a lot going. We should get started. So, Spurs have basically done a complete 180. I thought about starting this podcast with the bite from Don on Monday saying that they're going to be a 4th or 5th seed this year in the West. Thought about it, but he's not here. So
let him have his 7 and 10, man. They just let that breathe a little bit before, because none of us are great at this prognostication thing.
Hey, we got a lot of it coming.
We're about to find out.
Yeah, we got a lot of it coming. So anyway, the Spurs basically done a complete 180 since we talked about them glowingly on Monday. I feel like they blew a 19-point lead to the Chicago Bulls. Excuse me, and they looked just god awful last night against the Bucks in almost every conceivable way. They shot the ball okay, but besides that,
no, they shot the ball horribly.
Well, 18 of 52 from three is a little bit better than they're accustomed to, but it was bad. So we'll talk about what's going wrong for the Spurs and can they get it going against the Lakers if those games do end up being played. Obviously, everything going on in LA right now. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Plus, the Cowboys soap opera continues. Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, still in limbo right now, apparently having talks, but Jerry Jones is running this like he has never run a team before in his life, just keeping Mike McCarthy on the hot seat and keeping the Cowboys in the headlines, which is, I guess, what he really wants.
That might be part of the plan.
Which is really what he wants. And this weekend is going to be the greatest 5 days of football ever. We have 8 games in 5 days. College football playoffs going right into Super Wild Card weekend. And guess what? Chuck and I are going to talk about and pick them all.
I'd rather pick my nose, bro. But yes, we'll do that.
Well, you can do that too while you're doing the other one. So we're gonna
behind the scenes.
No trivia today since we have a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the Spurs, then we'll get to the Cowboys, then we'll get to the picks. in a little bit. So the Spurs last night lost 121-105, if memory serves, to the Milwaukee Bucks. They are now 0-2 on this road trip. They fall into 6-11 on the road for the season. They're back under 500 for the first time in a little while. And it was just, the Chicago game was a little different because they had a 19-point lead and they blew it. The Bucks game was just completely disheartening. They got overwhelmed. They were beaten physically. They were beaten mentally. They were out-coached. They were outplayed. They were out-efforted. They were just, it was one of the worst games. And they lost by 16 because I don't think the Bucks played ultimately that well either. But this was one of the worst performances I've seen this year.
It was, and based on, coming off our last broadcast here on this pod, it is a little disheartening in some ways. But, for me, I still feel like even watching that game last night, like if the Bucks want to play defense like that and give that kind of effort, I mean, there was a great ISO shot of Giannis trying to guard Victor and really just, if Giannis wants to guard anybody on the planet, he will guard you and he will shut you down. But I feel like for the last at least half decade, we've seen so little in terms of mass effort on both ends of the floor for long periods of time, not just the Spurs, but literally across the league. And it's not every single team, every single night, but there's enough of it where it's getting harder and harder, or was getting harder and harder for me to watch NBA games on the reg. Last night, I at least saw effort by both teams. If Giannis wants to put out that kind of effort all the time, he'll be the MVP every single time. And maybe he's more healthy this year than he was last year. I don't know what it was, but there were times when he was absolutely having his way with a 21-year-old second-year player. But the one thing that I am encouraged about Victor Wembanyama is he will not back down. He's not afraid to be the guy that ends up on the poster. He's going to give you his best shot, whatever that is right now as a second-year player. There was a time in that game last night where I think Giannis beat him like 2 or 3 times straight, go into the hole. But, Victor will get his block shot on him every now and then. There was one time where Giannis beat him off the dribble, and Giannis, like all these guys in the league seem to think, they're going to step on Victor and think they can still beat him to the cup. And Victor still got the block. So I think in terms of that, that's encouraging. Yeah, they look like they were playing. I heard somebody last night say looked like they were playing in mud last night. I think to a certain degree that's an apt description.
They look slow.
But I think it's because the Bucks were exerting a lot of effort. Like somebody was making it a point last night is we're not going to let Victor Wembanyama dominate the headlines on the internet tonight. We're not going to let him have all the SportsCenter flair, although there was plenty of that leading up to the game since the game was on ESPN last night. So I just want to see effort like that from both teams every single night, and it would reinvigorate my love for basketball.
So you thought that the Spurs put out a good effort last night?
I saw the entire first half. I did. It just, things weren't working the way they were trying to run their offense. I think there were moments where it's like, okay, they looked lost. I mean, I don't think Charles Bassey's having particularly a good week. It seems like they're looking for the guy coming off the bench that they need to get hot. The guy that's only going to play 12 to 18 minutes, but they just can't find that person. And then last night, it's hard to know what exactly to do with Devin Vassell at this point. I mean, he just shot awful last night.
I just pulled up his stats because I wanted to make a point of that. To the effort point, I disagree. I think that they were, outside of the first quarter, they were completely lackadaisical and just seemed tired. It looked like a team that was severely outclassed.
I agree, but it's some of that because the other team was exerting more defensive effort than I've seen from other teams recently.
And I mean, once you get down by 26 or 19 or whatever it was, it takes a lot of effort to come back. And they cut it to an 8-point game. Chris Paul, I think, hit 3 threes in a row at one point in that third quarter to get it down to about 12. They eventually cut it to 8, and then the Bucks ran away with it because it's hard to keep up that high of an effort count. So when you bury yourself that far down, it's really hard to dig yourself out of that hole. But speaking on Devin Vassell, he has been offensively just inept. He's been bad, and he's typically either their top or their second best offensive player. These are his last 10 games in terms of his 3-point misses and makes. Last night, 3 of 9, 1 of 7, 1 of 6, 1 of 4, 0 of 6, 3 of 7, 2 of 5, 1 of 4, 1 of 5, 0 of 5, 0 of 4. Like, he has been bad from 3-point range. And obviously he's still working it back and getting the rust off and all that stuff, but God, he's been bad.
Yeah, they look like, to me, that they're just sometimes, we talked about this the other day, they just look like they skip steps, right? If somebody's going to lock you up on defense and all of a sudden, one guy misses a couple shots, then the next guy feels like, okay, let me see if I can get hot. And then all of a sudden you're not playing the way you should, which is move the ball, have guys moving at all times, constant motion, make the other team work on defense. And when you just have guys standing around and dribbling, and I don't know what the stats are, but I'd like to know which team leads the league in most misses around the basket. It sure seems like the Spurs miss a hell of a lot of buckets around the bucket, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, teams against the Spurs miss a lot of shots around the bucket too.
Because there's a guy with wingspan from stretches from sea to shining sea.
Yeah, you got the car lot like blow up thing standing right by the basket. So
yeah, and I mean just the the sight lines that it does to most players, although Zubic from the Clippers notwithstanding, where he just was akin to banging your head against the brick wall with that guy the other day.
Fair enough. I don't understand why this team is so bad on the road. I really don't. Like, it looked like they were finally going to get rid of some of those road woes. They win in Denver. They were winning by a lot in Chicago. And then they give that lead up, and then they get destroyed last night. Now they're 6-11 on the road with 2 more in LA to face off against the Lakers. And it's just like, what is wrong with this team on the road when they get away from the Frostbank Center? I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's been weird lately, right? I mean, the 2 games that they lost prior to last night, it was a lousy fourth quarter or an overtime. And then last night it was the second quarter where, you just can't let a game like that get stretched out to that degree and then think that it's not going to be really hard to overcome.
Yeah, it was a 32-13 run by the Bucks at the end of the half. I mean, you can't allow that to happen and then try and get back in every game. I mean, they tried to make it close, they just didn't have enough. But it's seemingly every time they go on the road where there's a quarter or 2 that they just either completely take off or they just forget how to learn or forget how to play basketball. And I don't get it.
Yeah,
Mitch was also severely outcoached last night. He wasn't making adjustments on the offensive side of the ball. He wasn't making adjustments on the defensive side of the ball, and it seemed like he was just trying to let CP3 and the guys figure it out. But like at that point, you gotta coach.
Yeah, I mean that's a hindsight thing for me. I mean, because I think there is something to be said, especially at this point in the season, where you want guys to take ownership what's going on in the moment. And oftentimes, too, it's easier to run your offensive set if you know what your offensive set wants to be without letting the other team set up and then call a timeout.
Bob?
Did he open up the rotation last night? It seemed like there was more players. More guys are coming off the bench.
Bassey played a little last night, which, I know that's been hit or miss.
I didn't see
I don't know that it was any
last
different than what it's been, but to be honest, I didn't look that closely at the box score. Did Zach Collins play?
All 12 played. Collins didn't get into the end. He got the last 3 minutes of the game. Mamu, Collins, Branham, Wesley all played in the last 3.
So, if you could take one of those guys, and one of those guys gets hot, right, and just comes in and just ends up doing yeoman's work, whether it's scoring or doing the little things, they just haven't had that. Something, X factor.
Champagny also played like crap last night.
Yeah,
he was minus 26 on the plus minus. He did not belong on the floor last night.
I've seen there were some defensive lapses too that you're right. To your point, sometimes it does look like effort. Sometimes it just looks like mass confusion.
Yeah. Hopefully they improve in LA against the Lakers. So those games might not even be played. With the latest intel from the Spurs is that they're in LA already. They're moving hotels, I believe, because they typically stay in Santa Monica area, and that's really close to the fires that are going on. So they're moving hotels, and the games right now are scheduled to be played, and they're already down there. The game in LA tonight against the Hornets was already postponed, so we don't know if the Spurs are going to play. Is it Saturday and Monday? I think is when the games are.
Yes, 9:30 starts.
Yeah, 7:30 or Saturday and Monday. So we don't know if those are going to be played yet. We'll see if we have anything on the Spurs to talk about on Monday, but that's besides the point. Really, it's the devastation in Southern California, which is where I grew up, is I don't even have words for it. It's undescribable what is going on down there right now.
I don't either. I mean, and, I think all of us probably have friends or family or have lived there. And, the stories that, I'm hearing, just from people in our media group, family group are, friends of the family that, you got friends that work out there and they grabbed a bag of clothes, a Bible, and their pet and got the hell out.
Yeah,
I mean, and to hear it being described by people there as apocalyptic is, you're right. I don't know how else to describe it any more than that.
My sister lives in Sherman Oaks, which is right on the precipice of the evacuation warnings. And she's still there. And I text her like every hour and a half. I'm like, why are you still there? Our family lives 2 hours down the road. Like, go home for a couple days. You don't need to be there. There's no reason. But hopefully, I mean, last I checked, only 2 people had died, which is impressive to say the least, in something that's as devastating as that is.
When 110,000 people have been displaced, I mean,
all I can say is hopefully everyone stays safe and doesn't hold on to their possessions for too long. Obviously, your life is more important than your house. So, hopefully everyone gets that put out, and when we talk on Monday, the games will have been played, and the fire will be more than 0% contained down there in the Palisades. So,
hey, one question from the chat.
Yeah.
Spurs. Comment. Wemby needs to learn to get easier points with a big man post game, just like we depended on with Duncan when we needed points at the end of games.
I agree.
3-point shots are low percentage. You cannot rely on them.
I agree. When they really he had a bad game. Let's just call a spade a spade. He had a bad game last night. He got out physicaled by Giannis. I think that they pushed him around a lot. And to your point, he doesn't back down to that.
Yep.
But he backs down a little bit when it comes to his play. He will settle for those 19-foot mid-range jumpers. He will settle for a 28-foot uncontested three-pointer, which is not a high percentage shot. So I would like to see him maybe assert himself a little bit more, get down in the paint, get a 10-footer, get that little, we saw Duncan off the backboard for 18 years. So I would like to see him develop something like that. I just don't think that's in his game right now.
So, yeah, I mean, and it's weird, too, because the way they're playing right now with Victor out on the perimeter, if you want to get him in a position to score around the basket, he's going to have to work to get down on the block before he even gets the ball. Because, again, if Giannis wants to lock you up, he will lock you up. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame player. There's not a body like that in the league that's that wide and that twitchy and can do that many things. And if he is committed to doing that, at least at this point in Victor's career, there's nobody in the league that's going to be able to stop that. So he's got to be able to, A, recognize that, and then, B, if the double comes, which, every now and then they did that too, Victor's showed a pretty good level of basketball IQ in recognizing double teams when they come and then kicking out. And then it depends on the other guys to make those shots.
Yeah, two things on that. The Bucks also have Brook Lopez, who is one of the best post defenders in the league, even in year 17, 18, whatever he's in right now. He's a force.
He was lighting it up last night.
He is a force inside. Also, he's a force outside. Yeah. Defensively, though, he's really good inside. Giannis is a great post defender. So when you have Wemby and you really don't have anything else inside the paint, they collapse all down on him, and people have to make shots. And after the second quarter, people did not make shots last night. If you're on the Spurs. So I mean, it takes 5 to tango in that.
Yes,
and it can't just all be throw it to Wemby in the post and see if he can make a shot, because when you have two of the best shot blockers in the league, and Giannis and Brook Lopez, he's biting off a lot there. So,
and let's see if the Bucks play like that the next time they take the floor. I would venture to say they don't. And if they do, then look out. They might be one of the best teams in the East when it's all said and done. But they've been up and down too. They started off awful. They got hot. They've only were 5-5 in their last 10, but that was a pretty remarkable performance by them last night.
Sorry, their coach is Doc Rivers. They'll lose in the second round of the playoffs. Let's get to the Cowboys here before we go rapid fire on all of the games here. So McCarthy and his contract still in limbo right now. Let's just go through the timeline before we get to our takes on what has happened in Dallas or hasn't happened in Dallas. So on Sunday, Jerry Jones said Mike McCarthy has done a great job. We're going to talk to him. If he wants to go talk to other teams, he has specifically asked if he wants to go talk to other teams, should he go talk to other teams? Should he be allowed to go talk to other teams? And Jerry said, I should have pulled the bite, but Jerry said, yes, I don't want someone here that doesn't want to be here, basically. Monday, the Bears requested permission to talk to Mike McCarthy, and on Tuesday, Jerry said no. which would lead you to believe that, okay, he wants Mike McCarthy back. On Tuesday and Wednesday, apparently it came out today that McCarthy and Jones have been meeting for long periods of time, talking about a deal. Still, right now, Thursday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there is no deal done. It seems like, and I'm trying to word this carefully, it seems like Jerry is playing chicken with a man's life, with a man's contract.
Or it's just good old-fashioned hardball. Business. I mean...
No, it's bad business. It seems like bad business. If you want him, you want him. If you wanted him, the hay was in the barn, right? The hay was in the barn before you got to the last game. Why wasn't a contract being talked about then? If you wanted Mike McCarthy, then want Mike McCarthy. If you don't want Mike McCarthy, then don't want Mike McCarthy. But I feel like, and it bothers me because I wouldn't put it past Jerry to already have this deal in place with Mike, but say, I don't want this out till Monday, so we keep getting talked about for another week, which is just horse crap. Well, you wouldn't put that past him either, right?
No.
Absolutely not.
No, I mean, not that maybe that was necessarily spoken aloud, but I can see why you'd sit here and try to string this story along. I mean, never let a good crisis go to waste, right? That's the way everything works.
Every Sports Center, every NFL Live, every ESPN radio show is leading with, what the hell is Jerry Jones doing? He's winning right now. He is winning the battle of I need to get in the headlines. However, I think he's losing the battle of public perception. The court of public opinion is going to look really badly on this, just like I look on this, because he looks like a douchebag. He looks like he's playing chess with another man's job and another man's livelihood. It looks like he's holding Mike McCarthy hostage. And that's just not right. Like, if you want him, want him. If not, then let him go find other work.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, and that seems fair, right? But in the contract world, right, this is the time right now, according to Mike McCarthy's contract, I haven't seen it, but what we've been led to believe, that there is a period of time up until early next week that Jerry has exclusive negotiating rights. So, are there things going on behind the scenes? Like, will McCarthy's job, if he comes back, will it look different next year? Will he be the guy calling the plays next year? Does Jerry want somebody else calling the plays next year? Does McCarthy want somebody else calling the plays next year? I mean, what is this all going to look like at the end of the day? I have no idea. But, again, it's always fascinating, right, that we can sit here and say, man, we're going to get another day out of this story, another week out of this story, whatever it is, or have to keep an eye on it, because it is, at the end of the day, it's fascinating coming off a year where they were just a 7-10 ball club, right? I mean, it's like you're winning the headlines with a 7-10 ball club.
But this builds up resentment within your own fan base. I think
Agree.
so. I think that, and other fan bases, like I'm a fan of the Broncos. Next year, when the Broncos, when the Cowboys go play the Broncos, I'm going to want them to beat the crap out of the Cowboys for multiple reasons. One of them, because I'm a fan, but two, because of how Jerry Jones operates things. Like, if I was another team, I would want this to see the Cowboys lose because of the circus that comes along with it.
Yeah, and I must admit, I mean, I'm a fan of the circus. I mean, I'm old enough to where, there's a game, and many of them every single day. To me, the hot stove off-season in baseball, basketball, and football is intrinsically fascinating to me. So, I know it's probably not fair to Mike McCarthy and his family or others that have to go through this kind of thing, but it does create interest. And, again, the way things are getting scaled back from guys like you and me in the locker room, Jerry might be the last guy ever that's kind of holding on to, making sure that the media gets to go in there and get whatever they want, whenever they want to go get it.
But that's not what we're talking about right
now. No, I know,
I mean,
but I'm just saying that from my perspective, it's, again, you take the good with the bad, and if you're going to open yourself up like this and your whole everything is an open book, some of this comes with the territory.
But, I mean, doesn't it just leave, the way this is going down, just leave a bad taste in your mouth, though?
I'm not giving it that much energy, to be quite honest. I'm curious as anybody to see how it plays out. And we talked about this last week. I want Mike McCarthy back, but again, some of this is selfish, right? I enjoy his press conferences. He's a good share.
He's a good guy.
Great guy.
Yeah.
So, and the players like him. But again, this is a pretty high-profile job. It's the most high-profile job on the planet. And so, it would be attractive, I would think, to a lot of people. Do they have to deal with extra stuff? Yeah, but this is what comes along with having a job like this.
Do you think that he basically that he's keeping Mike as option B?
Maybe.
There was an idea floated around this morning on one of the networks that he's waiting for a Sark or to see if he can get an interview with Ben Johnson or some of those higher profile dudes right now, those hot names in the market. If Texas loses on Friday, which we'll get to in a second, will Sark interview on Saturday or Sunday for the job, and then before that exclusive negotiating window is over. And so then he'll know, okay, I don't have Sark. Let's re-sign Mike.
Yeah, or name the guy, right?
Yeah,
it could be Sark today and Dion tomorrow.
Yeah, whatever
Dion,
it is.
But I'm just throwing that out as an example. But yes, I mean, that's part of, working for Jerry Jones, I would assume. There's a part of me that thinks if everything that you just said was untrue, Mike McCarthy would already be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys for the next 2, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it ends up being. So yes, I think that's apt.
I think I don't know. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth that he's kind of playing chicken with someone's life.
I agree.
It really does, and it's just not the way.
Right.
It's not the way someone who has made their life in business and someone who is such a great businessman. Jerry Jones is a lot of things. A great businessman is one of them. It's not someone who has been that good in business should operate their business. Okay, in my opinion.
That's fair. There's a lot of this too, though. Don't think for 2 seconds that the Bears, if they want to hire Mike McCarthy, they know what he's about.
Well, they don't know what
they've got. An agent,
hire Mike McCarthy.
But I'm just saying, what he's done. You watched him do it to you repeatedly when he was with the Packers, and you've seen what he did with a less than ideal roster the second half of the season. I mean, he could clean up your program pretty damn quick. And if they don't know that at the Bears management level, then well, shame on you, right? You can wait a few days.
I mean, can they? They're interviewing everybody under the sun, so
as they should.
I guess.
I mean, again, if McCarthy's resume speaks for itself.
All right, let's go rapid fire here. Let's pick some games. So we got 8 games in 5 days. 2 CFP games tonight and tomorrow. 5 wild card games over the next few days. So Chuck and I are going to go rapid fire. Talk about each one, pick each one, and hopefully be right on just a few of them. So
that's fair. I was thinking I'm going to be wrong, I guarantee you, on more than I will get right. If we're going straight up who wins.
Well, here's the thing. Do you want to pick who wins or do you want to pick against the spread?
I think either way, I'm looking at more losses than wins. All right, you can do whatever you want.
We'll do both.
Okay.
All right. So let's start with we're going to take them chronologically. So we're going to start with the Capital One Orange Bowl. So Notre Dame is a 1.5-point favorite against Penn State in Miami right now. The game is tonight at 6:30 p.m. on ESPN. Notre Dame don't know if Jeremiah Love's going to play yet for Penn State. We don't know if Abdul Carter is going to play right now. How do you look at the game, and who wins?
I like Notre Dame's quarterback. I think he's got moxie. I think he's tough. He's big, and in a kind of a slug it out kind of game with 2 really good defenses, I'll take Notre Dame and I'll give up the points.
Okay, I think the over/under is 45.5. Last time I checked.
Oh, let's not do this.
No, I'm not going to do. I'm not going to do that to you. I'm just saying.
I would take the under.
I'm just saying that's what the spread is, or that's what the over/under is. So I agree. I think Notre Dame wins the game. I would like to hedge me saying that though by saying if Abdul Carter, is the DN for Penn State, plays and is fully capable and is not held back, that makes it different for me. He is going to be a top 5 pick for a reason. He is one of the best defensive players in the country, and if he is full go, no restrictions on him, I think that changes the game. I'm going to be interested to see how Notre Dame calls this game because they're a heavy run team. With no Jeremiah Love, they're going to be relying a lot on Riley Leonard's legs. Will Riley be able to get out on that Penn State defense? Penn State, let's remember, it was a 17-14 game against Boise State. Like they've shown a couple chinks in the armor. So James Franklin also not great in big games. His record against the spread and straight up as an underdog in big games is not good. So Marcus Freeman, they're 11-2-1 against the spread this year.
Really?
At Notre Dame, an ungodly number. Like that's insane.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So I'm going to bank on that. I think Notre Dame wins the game. I think they cover the 1.5. And if I had to pick, I would say the game goes over, but barely. I think it's like a 27-21 game, something like that. 27-20. I think it's close. Let's go to the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. This is Texas and Ohio State. The number on this game is Ohio State -6, excuse me. Ohio State is favored by 6 points against number 5. Texas, Ohio State looks like is fully healthy. Texas looks like they're getting their right tackle back. They look almost fully healthy as well. How do you look at this game?
I was thinking this is going to be great for Texas. It's a home game, but with 3 inches of snow in Dallas, I mean, the Ohio State people are going to have any problems getting to the ballpark tonight, while Texas fans are going to wonder what the hell happened overnight, right? I don't know. It sure is hard to bet against Ohio State based for me solely off their last performance. They got dudes, they got dogs. It's a wonderful combination that they have. However, I don't know that Texas wouldn't be better off if they had to play from behind a little bit to maybe open some things up a little bit, maybe be a little bit more risky with the ball. Not risky, but take more chances with the ball. So I'm going to go with Ohio State, but a close win. I'll definitely not. I'll take Texas in the points.
So Texas in the points, but Ohio State wins.
Yeah.
I think Texas wins and Texas covers.
Okay, nice.
I think I just don't buy Ohio State. They've had some stinkers of performances all year. You look at the Nebraska game where they barely eked out a win. The Michigan game I put on another stratosphere because that's just a different animal. That game is just not a normal game for Ohio State. So I put that kind of on aside. And you look at the rest of Ohio State's performances, and they've had some questionable ones. The last 2 have been unequivocally their best games all year. You destroy Oregon. I thought they should have won the first Oregon game. If Will Howard doesn't slide early, they should have probably won the first Oregon game. I'm seeing a nod of approval here from our Ohio State Buckeyes fan, Bob, over here. But I thought Ohio State should have beat Oregon twice. That being said, Texas has the players to compete. They have the coach to compete. And if they can get the run game going, which is going to be hard against the front 7 of Ohio State, which is really where the sausage is made for that defense. If they can get Jonathan Weisner a little bit, Jadon Blue, if they can get them running a little bit, I think that they can compete on offense. I think it's a higher scoring game for sure. I think it's a 34-28 win, 34-31 win, something like that. But Quinn Ewers going to have the game of his life, and I'll make a prediction. I think Arch Manning has a touchdown in this game, whether it's running or passing. I think he gets in the stat sheet a little bit. So I think Quinn is the X factor.
This game's going to look a lot like the Ohio State-Michigan game.
You think it's going to be an under slugfest?
It's going to be a slugfest. The Texas is going to are just going to dare Ohio State to run. They're going to sit back in a zone, and they're going to be doubling up everybody, and it's Ohio State. If Ohio State can't run, because it's going to be a long day.
Outside of the Arizona State game, Texas has done a really good job against the run this season. They have their front 7 might be the best in the entire country.
And I think too, with the way Arizona State imposed itself on Texas relentlessly, I think Texas is going to learn a lot from that, knowing that it's going to have to be you're going to have to lay it all out on the line every single series, or this is going to turn out not the way you want it to.
I think this is going to go. We're going to know really early how this game's going to go. I think if
Texas has to load up the box to stop the run,
then they're screwed.
Yeah.
If you have to one-on-one Jeremiah Smith, you're just
over.
You're done. So I think we'll know within the first quarter if this is going to be a close game or if Ohio State's going to kill them. I really do. Let's go to some NFL action. So Saturday, 3:30 seems to be the Texans' time slot because they've played
8 for 8.
8 for 8 in their playoff games. Yeah. So if the Texans make the playoffs ever, that's when they're playing. So the Chargers, the 5-seed Chargers, are 3-point favorites in Houston against the Texans. This game is Saturday, 3:30 on CBS. Who wins and why?
I think the Texans beat them, which means they cover, obviously. The fact that everybody is writing the Texans off, they're at home, and this happened last year too. Cleveland was the big bad favorite, and they went in there and got their ass kicked. So I'm going to go with Houston. I mean, they haven't played great, granted, the last second half of the season, but I just think it's going to be different tomorrow. And the Chargers offense hasn't played that great the second half of the season, despite all the love the quarterback gets. And he deserves a lot of credit, but they're not playing great on offense. I don't think the Texans are either. And it's going to come down to, probably whose defense makes the biggest plays.
Yeah, I think it's an under game for sure. I don't know what the number is on the over-under, but I think it's a low-scoring game. I will take the Chargers, though, to cover and to win. Especially if this was 2.5. It's 3, so I think it might be a push, but it doesn't really matter that much. The Texans remind me of the Eagles last year, limping into the playoffs and just going to get beat in the first round because this is just not their season. They don't have the juice. They've suffered so many injuries on the offensive side. Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, both out right now. The Chargers have the players to match up with Nico Collins and to stop the run up front as long as Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack are both healthy. It's like, I don't know. I think that Jim Harbaugh, this is going to be a Jim Harbaugh masterclass in terms of defensively how they're going to stop C.J. Stroud in this Texans offense. Because as long as you stop Joe Mixon, this offense is screwed. If they can stop the run, which the Chargers are really good at doing, this offense and the Texans are going to be playing catch-up all day. And so I think that this might be the end of the road for the Texans. It's a hell of a season. You guys won the division with 4 weeks left. But I'm going to take the Chargers here. Bob, you got anything on Chargers-Texans?
Chargers are going to win that game.
Chargers are going to win that game, all right?
Screw you. And screw you. Okay. Sorry, microphone.
All right, Steelers-Ravens. The Steelers are 9.5-point underdogs at the Ravens on Saturday night. This is on Amazon Prime Video. Who wins and why?
The Ravens are, how do you bet against them ever, right? I mean, I know that they're going to do the game where they flub it all up and they look bad, but every single week they just look to me like this is the team you just don't want to play. I like the Steelers, had a great year, but Baltimore's the last place I really would like to go at this point, maybe other than Minnesota.
Fair enough. I mean, I think the Steelers have won 4 of the last 5 matchups against the Ravens. I don't think they will in this one. I do think it'll be close, though. These tend to be low scoring, slug it out, and impose your will on the other team kind of games. 9.5 points is a lot of points.
Yeah, in a playoff game especially.
That is a whole heaping. At some books, it went up to 10 during midweek, and that's a lot of points for a divisional matchup in the third time you're playing a team this year. I'll take the points. I think the Ravens win the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Tomlin pulls this one out of his butt. I really wouldn't. And Mr. NFC North or AFC North, you got any comment on that one?
I hate both of these teams for personal reasons, but the Ravens will win this one.
Ravens are going to win. Javier, you agree? Ravens. All right, Javier's on Ravens too. So congratulations to the Steelers for winning this game, I guess, if we're all on the Ravens.
No, correct.
All right, Broncos-Bills, Sunday at 12 o'clock. I'm hopelessly biased on this game, but we'll talk about it anyway. 12 o'clock on CBS. Chuck, you go. Who wins and why?
Bills win, Broncos cover. I really like the Chargers. You know where I picked them earlier this year. The Broncos. I like how hard they play. They're probably not quite ready to make that leap, but something about the Bills that you can never fully trust. So let's see what happens.
There's one way that the Broncos win this game, and it's because they're too stupid to realize it's the playoffs. They're too young and dumb to realize that it's the playoffs and get overwhelmed by the moment because they've never been there. This group, they have as a franchise, obviously. This group, they don't know what the playoffs are like. The longest tenured player on their team is Garrett Bowles. He's been there for 9 years. He's never made the postseason. Cortland Sutton never made the postseason. Bo Nix, obviously a rookie, never
Blue
made
Bell,
the postseason.
Texas.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the Broncos. I think if there is a huge upset this weekend, it is that one. Dan Orlovsky said that on Rich Eisen the other day too. If he could see a huge upset coming, he thinks it was this one because of the way that these teams match up. I agree. Pat Surtain is going to be the X factor in this game. If he can shut down one side of the field, then they can try and load up on the run and fix the 3-by-1 or lock down the 3-by-1 formations on the other side. So I think Broncos win and cover.
It's a lot of points.
Broncos win and cover. You heard it here first. And if the Bills blow them out, then I was supposed to be wrong anyway. Javier, you got to choose choice on that one.
Oh,
Broncos
geez,
cover,
man, you guys are going.
cover or win? Win. Broncos win. Damn, we got two.
I'm going to cheer for the Broncos for you.
Thank you.
I don't really care about either one of these teams, but the Bills are going to win.
All right, cool. So everyone except for Chuck on the Broncos.
And I got him picked to go to the
AFC
AFC title game in the first week of the season.
Literally, he picked him to go to the title game. Yeah, he's picking against them. He's hedging. This is hedging right
that's
here.
right.
He's hedging.
I'm playing both
he
sides.
wins either way.
Nice play.
It's Rupert Murdoch. I'm going to give $12 million a year campaign, and I'm going to give $12 million a year campaign. Everybody wins.
All right, so congratulations to the Broncos on beating the Bills. Packers and Eagles. The Packers are 4.5-point underdogs to the Eagles this Sunday, 3:30 on Fox, which means we'll be getting the great sounds of Tom Brady on that one. So it means
Maybe for the last time.
I'll be watching with the sound off. Packers went into Dallas last year and destroyed the Cowboys. Is there a repeat performance against an NFC East opponent?
I certainly hope so. But here's the deal. Last year, the Packers offense got hot the last 6 weeks of the season. This year, that has not happened. It hasn't happened at all. There's nothing inside of me that says that they can go in there and do this other than the fact that their defense is better than it was last year, and they do run the ball very well. I'm hoping for bad weather and maybe Jalen Hurts with a few weeks off. Maybe he's a little rusty, and the fact that, every now and then, I don't even know how to put it. I don't want to jinx my team, so I'm going to say the Eagles not only win, they cover the points.
This is the reverse jinx. This is the emotional hedge. That's what they call in betting the emotional hedge.
That's
He's
right.
going to root for.
Well, I could say last year at this time, nobody, and I mean nobody, not even Packer fans, predicted that win over the Cowboys. In fact, everybody I know that's a Packer fan, the sentiment was the same, which was we've never been this unprepared for victory in our lives. Watching that game last year, the way it unfolded. So, maybe history will repeat
I think
itself.
the under in this, the over/under could be 23.5. I would still take the under. I think that this is a slug it out, last team with the ball wins kind of game. With that being said, I think that the Packers cover, but the Eagles win. 4.5 is a lot of points. I think this is a Jake Elliott field goal win at the buzzer kind of game.
NFL needs a major market team. Eagles win.
Yep.
That too.
Rigged. Javier, Eagles? All right, Javier says Eagles. Commanders at Bucks. Bucks -3 Sunday night on News for San Antonio is that one. I'll start off this one, Chuck. I think the Bucks destroy the Commanders. I think they win by 3 touchdowns. The Commanders have been a nice story all year. Commanders have not beat a team that is in the playoffs this year, except for the win against the Eagles when Kenny Pickett was playing. The Commanders have not beat good teams, and I think that the Bucks are a very, very good team.
There's a lot of teams like that in the playoffs, and they're in the playoffs for a reason, right? You beat up on the teams that you're supposed to beat.
You win games you're supposed to win.
But I don't know. There's something about the Buccaneers. I mean, obviously, I like their head coach, and who doesn't like the way Baker competes? But there have been a lot of squeakers lately for them. I'm not going to be a bit surprised if the Commanders win, and I'm going to go against the grain and take the Commanders in the upset, which obviously means they cover the spread.
All right, I think that's fair. Baker has the ability to blow up. He really does, and it's either he blows up in a good way or he blows up in a bad way.
Or he can be having a hell of a game and still throw 3 picks.
Yeah, I mean he's got a little bit of Jameis in him. He's just got not a lot of Jameis. We saw.
I don't know what that means.
Crab legs, all he's got. Let's get to the Monday night game, last one on the docket for the 5-day football fiesta. I have this wrong. The Vikings are actually -1 against the Rams. That's my bad on the odds there.
It's okay. Easiest game to pick in the whole thing.
All right, go ahead. This is Monday night, 7 o'clock on ESPN.
The Vikings destroy these guys.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's not even going to be close.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Because it's the NFC West against the NFC North. And those games have been tipsy all year. Anybody from the West playing in this tournament this year, Minnesota's really, really good. They're going to kill these guys.
I was listening to the Scott Van Pelt SV pod a little earlier, and I completely agree with Scott's take on this, which was, why are we burying a 14-3 team after a bad performance against a 15-2 team in the Lions? Like, just because Sam Darnold did not have a good game doesn't mean he's Jets Darnold all over again. Like,
that's a good way of putting it.
I don't think that we should be burying this team because they're 14-3 for a reason. The Rams are a very good team, and the Rams coach Sean McVay is one of my favorite coaches in the entire league. He's awesome. Whenever he gets out of coaching, he's going to be an awesome TV analyst or whatever he chooses to do. Matthew Stafford,
got great hair.
Matthew's elite. Yeah. Matthew Stafford, I love him. I love Kyron Williams. I love their offensive line. The Vikings are a better team. The Vikings defense is better.
Look, I know Packer fans everywhere are thinking this. We hope we win, but we're hoping somehow that the Lions lose during the bye week and that the Vikings are the other team that loses. The rest of these teams you have a chance against. The Packers know they have no chance against the Vikings and no chance against the Lions.
All right, so let's go Rams.
And I think either one of those teams, I'm going to be really, really shocked if it's not one of those two teams in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit more about this one even on our Monday pod because this is going to be a really interesting game. But I do think that the Vikings win. I don't know if it's a blowout, but I think that the Vikings win this game for sure. All right, that was 8 picks in a reasonable amount of time. Good job, Chuck.
It almost took us an hour.
What are you talking about? We started 45 minutes ago.
We started at 3:30, brah. It's 4:25.
3:30. That's
okay.
Not true. All right. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Fine. Get out of here.
Tolstoy. War and Peace.
Anyway.
That's us.
My notes are gone. Remember to download, rate, review the podcast. Give us a 5-star rating. Tell a friend. Tell an enemy. Go to the News 4, Fox SA, YouTube pages, and give us a subscribe there. We'll see you right back here on Monday to do a little postmortem on if we're right or wrong. So we'll see you then.